I work at an employee and consumer rights firm. That means we represent workers and consumers in cases against companies and institutions. My firm has 5 practice areas. We have an individual practice area that does your discrimination, sexual harassment type cases. We have a wage and hour group, which is the area in which I work, where we represent large groups of workers who haven't been paid everything that they were owed. We have an ERISA group that does 401k cases, a railroad group that represents railroad workers, and then we also have a civil rights and impact litigation group that does large-scale civil impact, social justice type cases. My day-to-day in the wage and hour world is really everything from case development, case origination, coming up with ideas in industries where we think workers are being treated unfairly or not being paid correctly, through filing the case in court, engaging in the discovery process, doing depositions, motion practice, and then eventually either settling the case or having a trial or arbitration. So it's really about strategy and that process and keeping the cases moving on a day-to-day basis, where I spend most of my time. So it's a lot of juggling a bunch of different cases, a lot of different tasks just to keep the case moving, which is fun because there's a lot of planning and coordination and strategy and meeting with a lot of other people, a lot of teammates to make that happen. So it's a rewarding job that way. I'm a litigator, which means I'm in court. But in the wage and hour context where I work, representing large groups of workers, I'm not in court every day, like maybe a prosecutor or a criminal defense lawyer is. I spend a lot of the time working the case up on a day-to-day basis. I'm not even in court every week or every month. It really just goes in spurts and depends on what's going on with the case. But when we are in court, it's to meet with the judge to set the initial case management plan. It's maybe there's a dispute over some issue with discovery. We'll go to court for that. A lot of those happen by Zoom these days, so it's not as much travel as I used to have to do in the past. And then going to court when we have trial, ultimately. Most of the cases settle before trial, but we do have trials occasionally. This time last year, I was in a federal jury trial in Minneapolis. So that does happen, and because it doesn't happen all the time, it can be a little nerve-wracking, even for practitioners like me. I've been practicing for 24 years, but when it's done, you're just so proud that we're able to do that work and help represent that person and hopefully get them a vindication of their rights. The field of employment law, when you're representing the workers, is pretty interesting because if you think about it, work is such an important part of everybody's life. It's like a little soap opera in each case that we have, where we learn about all the different people that are involved and all their different personalities. And sometimes you get some really salacious information that you hear about during the case. So it's kind of fun that way. Particularly once in a while, I'll do an individual case where I'm representing a worker in an age discrimination case or a retaliation case. And they want to tell you everything about their case and they want you to know everything from the start. And I'll tell them, look, this is super interesting. I'm going to know your case better than you do by the end of it. Trust me. But this is what I need to know now. And then we work for a year or two until the case gets to trial, if it gets there. And at that point, you know every person in the cast of characters, which makes the job fun. And then the second thing I'd say is on my big group cases that involve unpaid wages, it's really cool to be Michelle from Champlin, Minnesota, suing these big companies that have just the best lawyers and a whole team of lawyers. So I think our legal process is just really great that way, where we can come in and fight for workers against the biggest companies and get really good results for them. So I'm proud of that as well. Some of the challenges that we face in this practice, it's litigation. It's up and down. It can be a situation where our cases are on fire, which a lot of mine are on fire right now. And you feel like you're running a marathon and or maybe even a Tough Mudder type competition where there are hurdles along the way and you don't think you can get to the end, and all these hurdles are being thrown in front of you. And it's just really rewarding when you get to the end and you think that you can't make it, you don't have enough time to get it done, but you get it done and you complete the marathon. And that's a situation where it's kind of a down because you're so busy, but then you have that high when you finish. And also you get periods where there are lows, and in terms of workload, or maybe your cases aren't as busy. And I tell our associates that litigation, you can have a high risk for burnout. So don't feel guilty taking advantage of the low periods and, just going on a jog or a walk, for using analogies, and take the time off, get your workouts in, see your kids, because you're going to have another marathon and you just never know when that's coming around the corner. So I would say that would be a challenge to it, learning how to balance and take advantage of the low periods to work on your mental health and physical health and your relationships, and then just be prepared to go all out when you're in one of those really busy periods. How I ended up in this position is I interviewed after law school for a temporary contract type position. Don Nichols, the founder of Nichols Kaster, where I'm at, was hiring for the position, and he had one of their first large wage and hour collective actions and needed some help on it. The firm at the time only had 7 lawyers. We now have 30-some lawyers, but it was so small that Don Nichols also hired several of his wife's mom friends from the neighborhood. It was about me and 5 of we called them the North Oaks moms, because they were these rich stay-at-home moms that came in to help on the case. So I started on that case, and that was how I got into doing wage and hour cases, was being hired by Don Nichols. My employment law class definitely didn't help me for success or prepare me for success in this role. It was my worst grade in law school. So I think I got a C in that class. So it just goes to show that you can do whatever you set your mind to. But I would say the clinical experiences were really helpful. Actually, hands-on work, doing a prisoner type program or an immigration program, a landlord-tenant type clinical. Those are great experiences to have. And also, that was how I met the lawyer that initially got me into doing employment law. I was it was actually a volunteer experience working at an immigration clinic where they actually had me translating at some immigration interviews, which I don't know that I was qualified for. But anyway, I met her and she ended up getting me my first job. So it's really important to participate, meet as many people as possible, meet as many lawyers as possible, because you never know who's going to be hiring. The advice I would give to new lawyers would be, again, network, and network. It's hard to put yourself out there and you think lawyers won't have the time or desire to talk with you, but there are a lot of friendly lawyers out there who have been in your position in the past who will take time to talk with you. A good target for law students would be newer associates at a firm that they may be interested in. And the firm doesn't even have to be hiring. You can just set it up in a way where you say, I want to learn more about your practice. And I know several of our newer associates, or any associates, and even partners for that matter, will do that. But if it seems a little intimidating to reach out to a partner, I would say a good tip I'd have is reach out to associates and do that networking. There have been so many times where we're hiring where it wasn't necessarily advertised, but some project comes up and we need to hire somebody. And who comes to mind? It's who I've most recently met with. Oh, I met with so-and-so about 6 months ago. She was looking for a job, or he was looking for a job. You just never know when those opportunities can happen. So I would say network, and network.